All right. It's too early for titles, but I think at this point in the relationship, it's going to be introductory.
It is Tuesday the 21st of April, 2020, 4:42 p.m.
You heard the man. Mark your calendars by it. For what, I don't know. But organization is important for some people.
So
We're here for a handful of reasons. I did lose my train of thought, and I think it's just because I'm focused on getting the ball rolling. Your thoughts?
no, I'm just here to listen to what you have to say. Go ahead and bring up something.
Okay.
Anything, shoot.
We're going to keep it basic at first. I'm going to talk to you about movies. Now, we have a lot of movies. In specific, The Dark Knight Rises, Captain Marvel,
Oh, God.
Shazam, the remake of RoboCop, the remake of Judge Dredd.
I wish you had a list for these.
And I mean, this is just how I feel about these fucking movies. They're awful. There was no reason on God's green earth to remake RoboCop. It was a heartless cash grab. The same reason with Dredd. Even if you put someone like Carl Urban or whoever, these guys that are like really popular with the kids or with the in crowd or the dailies or whatever the fuck, it doesn't make a movie. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. RoboCop and things like that. Even the RoboCop sequels couldn't capture what RoboCop was.
Agreed.
No, Kane. Let's step outside. By that time, I mean, Weller was doing a parody of RoboCop. He was so fucking over the top that, like, he was using the heavy assault rifle and, like, getting punched through cement and stuff. Before, I mean, I understand it was borderline science fiction, maybe well into science fiction. He's dead. He's been shot up. His faith or whatever kept him from giving up. And he became a cop. But, I mean, anyone coming out of, like, drastic surgery, one, they're going to be foggy. Two, they're going to be in a lot of fucking pain. And they never really address that. Like, in RoboCop, it's just, they unplugged him. They cut all his nerves. He was just almost a brain in a jar at a certain point. And, like, that was awful, too. Like, there's even deleted scenes. I'm not sure if the deleted or it's extended cut. But where he does have a lot of organic parts still, and that little Paul Reiser or whatever, the guy, the little executive guy that's in charge of the project, he's like, oh, get rid of all this shit. Get rid of all this, his actual, like, the rest of his body that survived. And, I mean, as much as Matrix wanted to be Ghost in the Shell, in the 90s, like, RoboCop fucking nailed the concept of, like, a cyberized body.
Not the Terminator?
Terminator is one thing, but there weren't human brains inside of the Terminator chassis. Like, later, yeah, they did the whole thing where he's gonna wear John Connor's face and all that crap. But ultimately, it was not as powerful as seeing real Ghost in the Shell. Like, the anime Ghost in the Shell and the movie were different. Whereas they showed cyberization as some kind of, like, I don't know, it was like a thing you could purchase, which you could in the anime, but it was, especially like high-end cybernetics, like what RoboCop has, it's a human brain inside of a cyberized combat body. He's got enhanced aiming ability. He's got reinforced structure, strength that's like super ahead of what a normal person was. Perception, sight. He could hook up to the fucking network and shit. Imagine like someone now who could do that, which they tried to do a little Minority Report and with the Judge Dredd and the new RoboCop. Like he's hooked up, whatever. But no matter what, like that was part of the foil in a RoboCop is that he gets swanged in the head or something and gets scrambled, and he has to figure out without all the cybernetic enhancements, like, oh, he was more of a man than more of a cop than a RoboCop, and just like, okay, but we just spent all this time building up like how cyberized that he is and how enhanced that he is, and that's cool. But then having to deal with this back and forth between whether or not you're a cybernetic commando, super cop, whatever, and also like a sensitive dad who misses his family and is like trying to deal with that he's dead and that his family's completely fucking moved on, like that just totally got swept under the rug. I mean, they kind of try to address it or whatever, but even in the original RoboCop, it's kind of like, flashback city, he's going through his old house and shit. Again, like, trying to evoke emotions in such a way is very human. But at the same time, trying to do it for a robot cop is even more difficult to humanize, while at the same time making him very, like, sympathetic, I'm gonna say. You feel bad for him. You feel bad that, like, his family doesn't know he's alive, but he's, like, parking outside of his wife's house and watching his son, like, play in the front yard, even though they're long since, you know what I mean, moved on. They think he's fucking dead. And I'm pretty sure, like, in the original one, if I'm not mistaken, like, she's, like, calling to complain, like, oh, like, there's a car out in front of my house.
Yeah, I remember that thing.
So she's clearly distressed about it. And I mean, it takes to generally where I was going with it, doing a new version of it, where you just make everything shiny and modern, and it's like, okay, well now it's not Nicaragua or whatever in the fuck we're fighting in, now we're fighting in the Middle East. And now it's not cop shit, now we're like doing it for the military. We're just testing it with the police. Which I guess, yeah, they kind of were in the OCP version, in the original. But they tried so hard to make RoboCop modern, they overlapped what made it unique and futuristic in the first place. That's a very good choice of words, unique.
Yep.
Again, lightning in a bottle. RoboCop was, by all metrics, probably shouldn't have worked. But because it was more than the sum of its parts, it became this beautiful fucking movie about, like, perseverance. It was a comment on the prison system, gun violence, nuclear warfare, drug addiction, fucking society overdeveloping upon itself, like corporate greed. RoboCop had everything.
I love the message it sent.
It had more messages than a PBS machine gun. It was just all, I mean, non-stop. It hit you with something, even down to like the SUX 7000 or 6000, whatever, their car, right? The car was like a gas-guzzling asshole Corvette kind of thing or whatever.
Thought it was a Taurus.
A Ford Taurus?
It looked like a Taurus.
No, it was supposed to look like a sports car. That was the whole point of the SUX. Like, it's sport utility or whatever, like SUV. But it sucks, as in, because the SUX sucks, as in it sucks gasoline. It's like a gas-guzzling penis substitute of a vehicle. and that's what he wanted. Like, oh, when Boddicker gets his gang out of prison, like he's got all those military weapons and their fucking sports cars and shit. Like he has all the bribes, whatever, to get them back on his wavelength, or whatever, to do shit. Yeah. And even when like Boddicker is so like intense with the way, and I love that it's Red Foreman. It's fucking the dad from that '70s show is like this hard ass gun-toting dope dealer in Detroit, and I'm just like, man, if Kitty would have known him back in the day. Or maybe she did, and she's just like trying to keep him tamped down. Like, don't pick up the powder and the guns again, Red. You know you get. Have RoboCop over here kicking our fucking front door in. But I mean, neither here nor there. That's just a dream that will never come true. Yeah. The very late follow up to not only RoboCop but to that '70s show where they cross paths somehow, and RoboCop comes and kills everybody for being accomplices in Red Foreman's underground dope deal. It's like Breaking Bad, but it ends with RoboCop just shooting everyone down. Dark Knight Rises. I think I've spoken highly enough of RoboCop for now.
Which one was this? Who's the villain in it?
That's a good question.
I think the one with Bane.
It is the one with Bane. But my problem is that motherfucker was not #not my Bane.
Wasn't the Bane that I liked either.
Look, as far as I know, Bane was from like a South American prison. He's like a experimental steroid junkie. He speaks a handful of languages and is just like a hard ass who breaks people physically. Like, he can be tactical, he can whatever, lead commandos and terrorists or whatever in the fuck, but more often than not, he'd rather just get his hands on you and tear through you like a phone book.
So he's DC's answers to Marvel's Juggernaut, but just not as strong.
A little bit. Yeah, I would say Juggernaut would be a good opposite, company-wise. A lot of people put him opposite Venom, which is ironic because the drug I don't know, is that ironic or not? Whatever. Interesting. Coincidental. Unusual. The drug that Bane uses is called Venom, and the person that they usually put him opposite as far as his counterpart for Marvel would be the character Venom.
I don't see that one. People try to do that.
Well, because they like to make Spider-Man Marvel's Batman.
I do see that, and they try to do Batman. They also try to do Black Panther and Batman, which is crap. It should be Moon Knight and Batman because they have more in common.
Kind of.
The only thing Black Panther and Batman have in common is the colors and the cape.
I would slightly. Well, I agree with that, with what you said. But as far as who Marvel's Batman is, I would say it'd be Iron Man.
I agree with that.
Rich guy, tool belt, not interested in killing anymore. As opposed to the guy who was never interested in killing because he watched his parents get blasted in the hallway, in an alleyway. Excuse me.
Iron Man is a smart ass, though. He's funny.
Joker did not kill Batman's parents. Get your shit right.
I agree.
Joe Chill killed Batman's parents, Thomas and Martha Wayne.
He was just a common thug.
And he was just a dude. He was a poor guy caught in Gotham's urban sprawl, whatever. No excuses, though. I will give Bruce credit, though. Like, real talk, he even forgave him. He could have broken every bone in his body, and there would have been nothing anyone in that courtroom could have done to stop him. They would have had to gun him down with silver bullets because that boy had righteous fury if he wanted to come down on him. But he didn't. All credit to the Batman.
So Anthony, why didn't you like the Joker movie other than that one part?
Okay, so thank you. That's a good one. The new Joker movie, I couldn't even tolerate watching the whole fucking thing. I kept having to stop and come back.
That was the only Joker movie.
Stop and come back to it. Stop and come back to it. No, I disagree. The Dark Knight, not the Dark Knight Rises with Bane. The Dark Knight was the Joker movie. Batman was a supporting character in that fucking movie, dude. It was Batman Begins. That was the Batman Ra's al Ghul flick. The second one was all Joker. It was Batman in the beginning for a little bit, and then it was fucking all Joker.
That one was good. I did like that.
And I mean, he stole the show. And then the third one, because fucking Ledger decides to OD or whatever and the fuck can't keep his pills down, we're left with Joker Blue Balls. We wanted to see him in the third movie because that was going to be the first problem is Joker's still out there. Like, oh, he got away or whatever the fuck, he broke out of custody, he broke out of Bell Rev. And then we could even connect it to Bell Rev and the Suicide Squad thing, right? Like, you show the prison with all the supervillains and shit, like what they do with them. Because obviously the Justice League's justice system is either they go to Arkham or they get disintegrated. Like, they usually don't show them in regular prison. Like, in Watchmen, they showed that. Like, when Rorschach got caught, they put his ass in prison. It's like, yeah, whatever, superhero. You're fucking vigilante. You're going to prison, dude. You broke the law. Like, we don't give a fuck if you're a good guy or not.
Who was it again?
Rorschach in Watchmen.
Oh, okay.
Which, I mean, that was one of those lines. You don't understand. I'm not trapped in here with you. You're trapped in here with me. Rorschach was more than happy to be sent to lock up just so he could get closer to the criminal element, just so he could get his hands on him personally.
How long did he stay in prison for?
Not too long, because Night Owl and Silk Spectre come and bust him out later. But, I mean, that's, again, very reminiscent of something that I noticed in the Batman movie. Batman puts himself behind bars. Like, when he gets scouted in the very beginning by, or not the very beginning, but when he gets scouted by Rage, he's like, are you so eager to punish criminals that you would lock yourself away with them? And it was very poignant because he's like, well, you're meant for bigger and better things. Not only are you a Wayne, but you could be a League of Shadows material. Which, of course, I mean, the Demon's Head has always held the League in high regard. But the League of Shadows even higher.
Now, is Vandal Savage Batman's enemy?
It depends on how old he is. To my knowledge, Vandal Savage is only everyone's enemy until he gets what he wants. And then he's kind of sad about winning. Because in the version where Vandal Savage does win, just him. Just him. Enjoying that immortality. He's got a big farm, spaceships. I mean, fantastic cultivated society, big buildings. And no fucking people. Everybody long since died. And he's the only one left. And he's like, it took all this time to realize that being Vandal Savage is, worth very little when you're the last man standing. And there's nothing left to conquer, there's nothing left to win or to lose. It's just time forever watching the universe unfold itself into darkness. Very Doctor Who in that respect, too, because I remember that the Doctor Who had done something to that effect. That all of humanity was trying to figure out, like, how it would survive the stars. Basically, the universe dissolving. there was like a synthetic gravity field and a synthetic atmosphere, whatever. There were cannibals. There was only some zones that were safe. But yeah, everyone's seen Doctor Who. We were talking specifically about the Joker movie. And I got off on a tangent, which I do. The Dark Knight was the Joker movie. You said there was not another Joker movie. Dark Knight was the Joker. I posit that the Dark Knight was the Joker movie. Because in this one, he seems like he's just getting knocked around by life. There's no connection to Batman. He's a whiny little bastard. He pretends at being like this tough psycho guy, but then his veneer of emotion cracks at every opportunity to get Joaquin Phoenix crying or fucking like fucking his stupid clown makeup, like running or whatever, or to show him bruised or to show him sad or whatever in the fuck. And I was like, as much as I think Joaquin Phoenix is a good actor, after seeing him as Emperor Commodus in Gladiator, I always will dislike his characters. And like even in Signs, whatever, he was the baseball dude, and I mean just like he's such an unsettling character. Like he always plays a creep, and like even when he's not trying, like he made Johnny Cash into more of a creep than Johnny Cash actually was apparently. Because yeah, he killed a bunch of condors. Check your history books. I love the Man in Black. I fucking love Johnny Cash. But he also killed a bunch of fucking condors, fucked with a bunch of people's relationships, did a bunch of dope, and lied about going to prison. So, just, you know, be rock and roll about it. Know what's up. Know your history.
Bunch of dope.
Yeah, he used to take pills, man. He used to get pills from Mexico. That's why he finally got arrested, if I'm not mistaken.
Keep it a little quick.
Of course. Lovely. Spicy pork rinds, fantastic. The new It movies are fucking cool. I will say they're a little bit grody, but they're not as grody as the book.
I never got into it.
The book ends with all the boys banging Beverly in the sewer before they can escape.
And who is Beverly?
That's a weird question.
I never saw it. I'm not into horror flicks.
Boo on you, sir.
No.
Beverly's the one female character in it. Making it all the grosser, too, because she's like a kid.
Yeah.
But, that being said, in the first and the second film, they use a lot of opportunities to sexualize her. Like, I'm trying to think because it's kind of blurry. They show her at the quarry and all the boys are like ogling the shit out of her. Which I guess kind of makes sense, whatever, but then that's innocent. Like they're all boys. It's the only girl and they're just like, oh wow, a girl. But it shows her playing into it to get them supplies. And this is before that, actually. This is the scene before that. They're trying to get stuff for Ben because he got knifed and whatever, he fell in the dirt. And they're trying to get medical supplies and shit to clean it. And she's trying to get cigarettes. But the pharmacist is watching them. They don't have enough money, whatever in the fuck. She goes up and starts talking to the pharmacist and pretty much flirting with him. Like, no, not even pretty much. Directly flirting with him. This guy who's like clearly like in his late 40s, early 50s, easily. And she's like, "Oh, well, your glasses, and oh, you look like Clark Kent." And she's like, "Can I try them on?" And I mean, she's clearly fucking playing this guy, but the fact that she knows that he's sexually attracted to her and that she can use that to her advantage shows how fucked up and blatant like the town is and the people in the town are, and also like how fucked up the story is. That's a big one right there too, because like in any of the versions of the movie they graciously cut the scene where all the boys take turns pounding her, to so to speak, and like they even have like a very descriptive where she's talking about like their junk and the differences between them and stuff.
Glad they cut the scene, even though I didn't see the movie.
I mean, there was never a scene shot. It was just in the book.
Oh, okay, in the book. They didn't add it.
Yeah, they did. But then they compensate by doing this weird shit. Also, in regards to the whole portion of the only black character in it was totally mangled. They made somebody else the historian, which I thought was fucked up. Mike Hanlon should have been the historian. He was the historian in the book and in the 90s series. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of took that away from him, and it was pathetic, I think.
I wonder why they did that.
It definitely wanted to have its own identity, this movie. But again, trying to force an identity into a movie, especially a remake, you run the risk of having it become a soulless parody. And this definitely bordered on soulless parody. It was fantastic. And that being said, there are some things that are like, yeesh about it. Like in the very beginning, they have these two dudes get gay bashed.
Oh God.
They're a gay couple. They're making out, and a couple of punks come and beat the shit out of them and throw them over the bridge. And then the other guy, whatever, gets his head kicked in. But that's when you see it for the first time too, because he fucking pulls the guy, the kid, the one who's all bloodied up, pulls him out of the river and fucking bites his goddamn arm off or whatever.
You said this is a horror flick, right?
Yeah.
It's not my cup of tea. Sorry. I really don't watch them.
Well, it's Stephen King, though, too. Stephen King kind of it goes above and beyond this type of thing.
Sounds like he does.
Okay,
especially with pets, with that stupid ass Pet Cemetery. Like, come on.
Okay, now we're moving into the next portion of it. And forgive me, where are my manners? I'm Dogman, and this is Mr. E.
EJ. Let's go by EJ.
The unknown, yeah. Well, you're Mr. E, because you're a mystery to the camera, so Mr. E for short. That's how the kids will know you.
I got you.
See,
you wanted to talk about that bullshit Captain Marvel movie. Oh my God. Let's go there. Number one, you use fucking lame ass Carol Danvers, who nobody likes. She has a very small following online, and people don't do nothing but shit all over the character.
Well, the one that looks like a dude nobody really likes. So I guess SJW.
Flat ass Brie Larson. They got her in a. She has such a flat ass. I saw her naked one time.
I think my experience with the Scott Pilgrim movie says Brie Larson's hot. Again,
I'm not going there.
But she's not attractive as Captain Marvel.
She's not an ugly woman in the face.
She looks like Justin Bieber though. Rocket Raccoon's Rocket Raccoon's a comment about her haircut. Yeah, it's valid.
She like a dude with she's like a dude dyke with that short haircut. She just don't look right with it.
I mean, yeah, whatever. I guess that's one way to say it. But I remember Carol Danvers looking very different with the black costume and the blonde, like long blonde hair.
I remember that, and that
looking
was
like like a super person, like a Wonder Woman kind of thing. And the remake version of her is so odd. And I mean, it's not just because she's not wearing like a hot costume anymore. And I mean, I guess if you like whatever, if you like women that look like men, that's fine.
That's not okay for me. Sorry.
I mean, that's fine. I don't judge that, but I don't. I don't like women that look like men in particular. So like, it's hard for me to enjoy that in a comic book character, especially when, like Mr. E says, Monica Rambeau is a fucking fantastic Captain Marvel property that they could have totally blown people out of the water with. And she could have been a dope-ass character to go, because, I mean, she got caught in all that bullshit, too. Who's to say Rambeau didn't get caught in the blast, too, and got the side effects of the powers as well? So not only do you have one Captain Marvel, you have fucking Photon, or whatever the fuck, Polaris, whatever the fuck her name is.
Yep.
And then, now, like, you have another non-white superhero, non-white, non-male superhero that you can tout in front of all your SJW friends and investors. And I'm like, good on you, Marvel. And it's an interesting fucking character that no one's seen since 1989. There are tons of superhero properties that fall by the wayside that really haven't gotten their fair shake, but like, I couldn't see a Static Shock movie. I don't think it would be any good.
I think it would be a good TV series, but they'd have to be careful with certain things. Like, for one thing, he'd have to have a very, very different costume. Like, me, personally, if I was writing a Static TV show, one of the first things I would have to put into the storyline is just me.
More hot girls.
What?
More hot chicks.
Well, not just that. I would put Hardware in it. He wouldn't be Hardware at first, but his alter ego as Curtis Metcalf. I'd have Static using his costume from the 1993 debut comic book, and then I'd have Hardware change it into something that covers up his face better.
Really?
Yeah, just because it's a live action TV series, and it has to be as realistic as possible.
As opposed to the dude who can just throw lightning from his hands.
Yeah, I would build him a retractable saucer. He would use a garbage can lid at first, to pay homage to the comic version. But
I dig that.
But I would have him. I would have Curtis build him one like he did in the last 2012 Static comic book series that got canceled.
So you just write out Gear because he's gay?
Gear wasn't part of the original comic book. It was a character named Rick Stone that was gay. And I guess Gear is a, oh God, what's the word I'm looking for? Not an allegory, but I think that he was inspired by that character. But I'd put Rick Stone in it. I'd probably put Gear. I'd put Rick Stone in it, but him and Gear would be separate characters. Because they are separate characters. But I definitely felt that Gear was inspired by him.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem with that. My issue would be because it's live action, they can't use that costume. It'd have to be something more realistic. He could use it at first, and then I'd have Curtis pull him to the side and be like, look, Virgil, that costume is going to work. People are going to see right through it and figure out who you are. Let me build you something, and you'll be good.
It's like, yeah, dude, the big purple trench coat isn't going to really hide your fucking identity.
No, it wouldn't be
very
that.
long.
Oh, and as far as it goes, he had a yellow trench coat in the comic book.
Looking like Dick Tracy.
Yeah, and I changed it from yellow to like beige.
Why?
Beige or brown.
Oh, so it just looks like a plain trench coat?
Yeah.
I
do say I put you like this. I would do a lot better with his look than what DC is doing with Black Lightning. Well, they're doing better with them.
See, that's what my problem with a live action static shock is that it becomes Black Lightning like pretty much instantly.
Yeah, because their powers are different. Well, their powers are similar but different.
I mean, cinematically though, they become indistinguishable.
Yeah.
Because there's only so much range you have for special effects, and
That's
if they're
true.
both using a plethora of lightning powers, and if you couldn't hear, and you couldn't read, and you'd never seen these characters before, you would think that they were like two different versions of the same character. Which fundamentally they kind of are.
Yep.
Like the Human Torch and the Human Torch.
Nice.
And then as a counterpoint to that, like in X-Men, I want to say X2, where Magneto takes a bunch of students from Professor X's place.
School. Ouch.
Yeah.
And
I'm foggy on it a little bit. I'm trying to recall it. But there's a scene where Pyro is still on the good guys' team.
I remember that.
And he's talking with Magneto.
Magneto said you're a god among insects.
Yeah, he talks Pyro up. And I remember Pyro always being kind of a low-ranking member
Yep.
of the Brotherhood. And they made him totally different. Pyro fucking represented. He was there for a long time. He did a lot of damage, and he was a huge threat to a lot of fucking people. He attacked a lot of those cops, and he did his best to intimidate, I will say. The little fireball that would come out, or he would occasionally, like, get like that and, like, threaten people. It's, again, really interesting, but, like, the fact that Bobby Drake could freeze Pyro's fireball into a solid form, like, at that point, you're breaking the laws of fucking physics. That is horrifying. Stay away from Iceman. It's one thing to put out fire, but to freeze fire into a fucking solid? What level of ice power is that? That's like borderline magic. Yeah. Unless it was some kind of shaping thing where you just put the fire out and like reshaped into an ice fireball, but that's not what it looked like. It literally, he froze the kid's flame and he drops it and shatters on the floor. That's X-Men 1, kids.
You sure it wasn't 2?
That's X-Men 1.
X-Men 1.
I'm almost certain, yeah, because that's when they first introduced Rogue to the class.
Speaking of X-Men, what's your opinion of how Disney is going to handle X-Men? You think they're going to fuck it up like they fucked up Star Wars?
I wouldn't say they fucked up Star Wars. I would say they fucked up parts of Star Wars.
They fucked up a lot of Star Wars. Number
but
one,
Disney wasn't involved in the prequels. The prequels fucked up Star Wars.
No, I'm talking about the one.
Fucking pathetic.
Episode 7. I'm talking about 7, 8, 9. Those were Disney's that they fucked up.
They were dope.
Number one, you didn't make Finn a Jedi when whatchamacallit, Lucas and what's his name, with the glasses.
Yeah,
Abrams. They wanted him as a Jedi, and we were supposed to get a rematch between him and Kylo Ren, and that bitch Kennedy fucked it up and didn't want to do that. Number one. Number two,
don't you know the only black dude that can be a Jedi is Mace Windu. That's what Hollywood says.
Yeah. Number two, you fucking you kill Snoke, who was interesting.
No, he wasn't.
And then you bring back Palpatine, which really fucks up Return of the Jedi and makes it relevant.
Okay, what the fuck was interesting about Snoke? That I have to
I liked his look.
So nothing. He was aesthetically different.
Well, because
it's like saying Kylo Ren was cooler than Darth Vader because he had a different mask. And it's like, no, he sucked ass. Kylo Ren does suck ass.
And then number three, in the third movie, you added up all these. You saw the movie, Anthony? 3?
Kylo Ren is the Darth fucking Maul, almost, of the new series. He looked cool and kind of had like a lot of potential, but really didn't pan out to very much. And
that's their fault. He didn't pan out to shit.
Yeah. It was also kind of Luke. It was mostly Snoke's fault though, because like Snoke poached him when he was young, which means Luke hadn't had very much time to train him, even though he was already hella talented and could go toe to toe with Luke for like even a second. That's, hey dude, just fucking Jedi Master. You don't ever challenge a Jedi Master without losing a limb.
And I didn't like how they killed Luke.
That was interesting. Yeah, that was odd. Like he just turned into a Force ghost. I feel like they could have done. I think that's the biggest regret. Is like we wanted them to do more,
and they did so less. And the Last Jedi was just a fucking cinematic failure.
How so?
You had the rebels running from the Empire fleet, First Order.
Yeah, they always do.
And they could be tracked in space. It just was doing too much.
That sounds right on the money to my knowledge.
They could have had this all-out fight where ships on both sides were being destroyed, not having the rebels annihilated down to one ship, and losing all these people.
That's what happens. That's why the rebellion is not popular, because you're pretty much signing up to die on principle.
It could have been better written.
Yeah, they had badasses like Poe Dameron.
Here's the other thing I didn't like that Disney did that was just a total fuck up on their part, like a major fuck up. And it seems like I'm the only. It seems like when I bring it up, everybody else agrees with me. One thing that Lucas did that was unique with the Star Wars movies when he was writing them.
Say Jar Jar, I'm gonna fucking shoot myself.
No, when he did the ship designs were different for episode 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, 5, and 6 had their own ships.
Yeah,
7, 8, and 9,
etc.
With the exception of the Millennium Falcon, every other ship from the Disney 7, 8, and 9 should have looked way fucking different. They should have had just different designs altogether, and they didn't. They had the same fucking designs that they should have been done away with because 30-something years had passed. Why would they be using these old-ass ships?
I think it explains pretty goddamn well. I think it explains pretty well why they're using these old beat-up ships.
Even the Empire is still using TIE fighters. They should have a completely different design. Now, granted, they did have some new ships, but it wasn't enough.
No, of course not.
You know,
but that's the problem with beating everybody in the game. You don't progress any further. Once you win, once you're at the top of the stack, there's not really any reason to keep improving. That's why they're like, why the fuck are you going to make another Death Star? We won already. Everybody's dead. Like, nobody can compete with us. Why just send a fucking unit? Send a blockade to the planet. Carpet bomb the fucking planet with Star Destroyers. Why are you going to waste all that fucking resources on a planet-sized death ray? And it's right there. Planet-sized death ray. That's why, motherfucker, it is a work of art. This is how we roll in the First Order. You want to go against us, you're going to watch half of your fucking solar system turn into burning ash. That's how the First Order rolls. That's how the Empire rolls. Oh, Alderaan? Alder running away. You know what I mean? That's a terrible joke. You can come back. They disintegrated it in front of the person who was going to inherit the throne. There's your planet. You see your fucking planet? No, you do not. Bam! Fire when ready.
Blew the whole thing up.
Just to prove a fucking point. We don't play. You will give up those rebels, or we will just start blowing planets out of the sky. That's why we don't fuck with the Empire. No one's ever going to beat the Empire. You can win sometimes against the Empire. That's why there's rebels. But that's why the Empire always ends up winning. That's why there always has to be rebels. Because they can't win the fight. They can only fight the fight. They can't ever take it to the head because the head is invisible. Snoke's dead, alright? What happens? They just move on to the fucking next thing. Palpatine comes back and he's like, oh, hey, look, I was in charge the whole time. Ha ha! What about that? I'm a clone! And my clones are in charge of everything. Fuck you, Jedi Order.
They could have made, you know what?
That's brilliant, though. That's exactly what a Sith would do.
You know what I would have done? You know, straight up, I would have took one out of Anthony's playbook. I would have revealed the Puppet Master as Jar Jar Binks and have him as the villain. Now that really would have been like, nah, I'm kidding.
No Darth Jar Jar. No Darth Jar Jar. That's awful. No, I couldn't do that.
What do you think it would have been worse if they had used Jar?
Oh, that would have been absolutely worse. No, because all they had to do was come to a logical conclusion. But no, they wanted to make this fantastic leap of fucking fantasy instead of just keeping in the logical progression, which is Star Wars. Okay. Episode 1, 2, and 3. I can't even. They have a phantom edit. They have the movie as it could have been. I mean, when you turn Star Wars into Star Trek, you fucking lost. You lost the deer in the woods.
They didn't. How did they turn it into Star Trek?
Okay, so we're going to space